Alright guys, welcome. This is my recording on Lab 7.4.2, implementing DHCP version 4. I noticed that a lot of you guys were having issues doing the lab, so I want to do a recording on Packet Tracer to show you what it is, how it would look like. The commands are the same. There are some commands that I cannot do on Packet Tracer, so when I get to those points, I will show you how it's done on Packet Tracer. I'll show you what the commands are, and then you'll just have to put in the commands yourself. There's probably one or two commands, and it won't make a difference to you completing the lab if you don't get it done. But you should know them anyways. So let's start. I've already have my network set up here because I had previously recorded this and my microphone was not on, and so I wasted about 20 minutes recording all of this. So I have a lot of it done already, which is good. Now I can record it for reals. So first thing you're going to want to do is, when you guys get into your equipment, is look to see how they want you to set it up. Setting it up is crucial to any lab. Alright, so I have my lab already wired up. You're going to get straight through cables, right, from PC, right, the Ethernet cable that goes from your Ethernet, your NIC, from your PC to the switch, F06. Then from F05 on switch 1 goes to G001 or G01 on the 2901s, right? They use 3 numbers on these. These are different models that they're using in the new Cisco, but we have 2901s. It still works. We can still do the labs, no problem. It's just that different numbering scheme. So just get rid of one of the zeros. It says G001 here. It is G01 in your devices. All right. So then from R1 to G001 to R2 G0s, I'm sorry, 000 to R2's G000, and then from R2's G001 to S2's F05, and then from S2's F18 to PCB. All right. Once you have all your stuff set up, it shouldn't take too long. Next, we have to go into the next part of this lab, which is the subnetting. So I went ahead and subnetted. All right. I'm going to pull up a little really great drawing graphic here that I made for this. So from the get-go, we started off with, let me see, is this a highlighter? No, it's a crayon. Doesn't matter. All right, we started off with this. This is our initial network, a/24, 256, right? The main one is 192.168.1.0/24. We started off with that as our network, and it would be represented by the full circle. But our client wants us to create 3 different subnets for this entire one. So we need to chop up this entire /24 into a smaller network, into 3 smaller networks. All right. So based on this drawing here, I've already set it up. So the first one, subnet A, needs to require, or the requirement says that they need to support 58 hosts. Now, I have my cheat sheet with me. It says that the best one to fit the closest to 64 without going over or without wasting too much. So 58 without wasting too much would be this /26. It would allow for 64 total addresses. But remember, the total address, you have to take away 2. So actually, in reality, it would only support up to 62 usable addresses, which is great. That will fit our needs for this network. So we'll do that. And remember, we start from .0, and why it's a total of 64 total addresses, but only 62 usable, is because where we start from .0, which is a non-usable one, and .63, which is the end of the subnet. That's 64 total. From 0 to 63 is 64 numbers. All right. If you're counting from 0 to 63, you'll count 64 total numbers. But we can't use that one. That's a network address, and this is a broadcast address. So what we can use is everywhere from .1 all the way to .62. we can use those. Okay, so that's 62 total address that we can use, usable addresses. All right, so that's a /26. So we'll go ahead and write that down. I already did it for you. 192.168.1.0, the subnet address, /26. Right. Whenever we write a subnet, when we're showing a subnet, we show it by the subnet address. Okay. So it's a non-usable address, but it says, hey, it starts here at .0, and it goes from .0 all the way to wherever the /26 ends, which is at .63. Next one is subnet B, supports up to 28 hosts. Right. So again, going back to our subnet cheat sheet here, the next one that would support up to 28 hosts without spending too much or wasting too much is this one, is /27. It supports 32 total, but we subtract 2 from it, so it supports only 30. Right? And so we know where our first subnet A, ends at .63. That means that our next subnet, no matter how big, how small it is, or how we're cutting it up, is going to start at a .64. Always going to start at .64. That's the network address of the next subnet. All right? So then, one thing that I do to figure out is I know that I have 32 addresses total, right? I will add 32 to 64. If I add that, that will take me to the next subnet, right? The start of the next subnet, .96. The next subnet, or subnet C, will start at .96. That's the subnet address of that network. All right, subtract 1. And now we'll get the broadcast address, or the end of subnet B. So subnet B is going to start from .64. Let's go all the way to .95. Anything in between those two addresses is fair game to use for devices. Okay? You cannot assign this one. You cannot assign that one. You will get errors. It will say invalid mask, or it will tell you, nope, you're wrong. All right. So we'll document that now. 192.168.1.64 subnet address /27. Next, our next one is a subnet of just 12 little hosts, and so the best one would be this /28. It will support up to 16 total, but actually in reality it will only support 15 usable. Perfect, right? We're only wasting 2. So there you go, from .96 to, I believe, .111. My math isn't all spot on there. I'm not going to try to figure it out, but all I care is that it starts at .96. Okay. If we needed to make a third subnet, then we would worry about where does the next subnet start, and then where's the broadcast address of this one, and all that. It's good to know where they start and where they end. But for this case, we're only making 3 subnets, so I don't care. Whatever. It's already set up. So we're going to annotate that. 192.168.1.96 subnet address /28. Non-usable, non-usable, non-usable. Okay? Non-usable address, non-usable address, non-usable address. All right? So now it says once we figure out a subnet, there's little directions down here at the bottom that you read. It says record the first address in the addressing table for R1G001.100. A little sub interface there. So we're going to do that. Or actually, I already did it. Come on, right up there. So G00 or G01.100 is 192. The first address usable, 192.168.1.1. My subnet mask is 255.255.255.192. And I get that because I go down to /26 and I see that my subnet mask is right there. Okay. Any devices that are going to be on that subnet have to have the same subnet mask as well. That's the way networking works. You have to have everything needs to match up, or else you're going to have issues. No, DocHub. No, thank you. I don't want to write that. All right. The next thing it said also was to also take the second IP address and put it on S1's VLAN 200 interface for S1. So 192.168.1.2. Same subnet mask. Remember, 255.255.255.192. It has to match up. 92. My default gateway is going to be G0100. Actually, you know what? I think that's wrong. It should be .200. If this is VLAN 200, the default gateway is .200. So I'm going to I'm going to edit that for now. I don't want to leave that as that because I don't want to steer you wrong. So tentatively, I'm going to do dot, oops, that's too many dots, 1.65, because one thing, even though we have, right, this S1 is on going to this interface, it does not mean that it has to follow that G0100 or that subinterface, right? It's on the 200 VLAN, and this is the 200 VLAN. So everything with the 200 VLAN will have this subnet. Anything in the 100 VLAN will be this as their default gateway. Remember that that's the beauty of default gateways is allow us, or I'm sorry, VLANs. It allows us to have different default gateways because of that router on a stick, multiple interfaces, virtual ones. All right. Anyways, moving on. So VLAN 200, where we set it, second that. Now the correct default gateway, if I'm not mistaken. All right. We'll see if that's going to make sense to me because you have an address in one subnet and then you have a default gateway in another one. I'm going to have to revisit this here in a little bit to see if that's not mistaken. All right, so it says enter the associated default gateway. Well, we're going to have to revisit that one. Not a big deal. Mistakes are made. As long as we fix them and we make it work, it's all good. All right, so next one. Subnet B says record the first IP address in the addressing table for R1 G001.200. Then record the second IP address in the address table for S1 VLAN 1 and the associated default gateway. So you have 192.168.1.65. That's the first usable, right? .64 is the network address, so the next one after that is .65. The correct subnet mask 255.255.254. And we don't have an S1 VLAN 1, so you have to kind of keep that in the back of your head. So just make sure you kind of keep that in your mind, what you're going to do there. S1 VLAN 200 associated. See, yeah, I think that's incorrect. That's cool. We'll keep it as is for now. All right, it says record the second IP address in the addressing table for S1 VLAN 1. There's only an S2 VLAN 1 address in there. But S2 VLAN 1 is on the other side of the network that is not on VLAN. So what we're going to do is we're just going to annotate right there S1 VLAN 1 is 192.168.1. I can't see it because .cub is in the way. 64, we use 65, so it's going to be 66, right? And then subnet mask of, not DNM, subnet mask SNM is 255.255.255. Is it 224, if I'm not mistaken, /27? Yes. All right. So put that there. .66. This says S2's VLAN 1. So I'm going to take that one out too. Until I'm sure of it, then I'll take this out. Not a big deal. Again, like I said, if I have to revisit this later and change it, we'll do that. Instructions not clear. Blew up packet tracer. Alright, we'll leave that like that. Alright. So let's scroll down. Alright. So once you have that, also right here, record the first IP address in the addressing table for R2G001. Alright, so 192.168. So it's going to be 192.168.1.97 for R2G01. Let's go back up here. R2G01. I haven't not done that. Oh, come on, guys. There you go. No, not there. Dude, this is hard to do with a touch pen. All right, so 192. This is gonna have to be good enough for government work. 192.168.1.97. I have my little drawing here. .97 is the next one. And oh, see, look, it does it. Nope. Close enough. 255.255.255. A slash 28 is not. Let me see. I don't remember off the top of my head. 240. All right, 240. And the default gateway is gonna be. Well, we don't have a default gateway for that. Let's not delete that. What I just did. Not applicable. Not applicable right there. But these will have it. All right. S2. If I were a person that wagered, I would wager that this would be the next one. So I'm going to preemptively do 192.168.1.98. Right? Subnet mask is going to be 255.255.255.240. And my default gateway is going to be 192.168.1.97. Alright. So that's good right there where it is. Hopefully we have everything done the way it should be. But we'll discover that later when we go and set everything up, won't we? Alright, so for the next section, right, it says cable. We already did the cabling. I already did that. I'm going to pause my video right here and I'll pick it back up after I do the basic settings. Alright. Or you know what? I'm not going to do the basic settings. You guys do the basic settings. It's not really something that I have to do on this. This is just basic stuff that you should already know. You guys need to practice this. When it says assign a device name to a router, you should know that it's host name and then the host name that you want to give the router. Disable DNS lookup is no IP domain dash lookup. Assign class as a privileged exec mode, right? Enable secret class, and so on and so forth. You should be able to do that. Create a banner, save running configs. If you do happen to save the running configs on the devices, make sure you erase the running configs, the startup configs, because then I have to go back and try to figure out if you put the right password on it. If you use the right password, then it won't cause me any problems, and I can go erase it no problem. But if you don't, then my seniors are complaining about how that's not done. You can set the clock on the router if you want to. Again, not a big deal if you don't do that. Alright, so after that, it says we need to configure inter-VLAN routing. Alright, picture, we don't need you. No! Picture, we don't need you anymore. Where'd it go? There you go. Alright, it says it wants me to configure inter-VLAN routing on R1. R1. Let's get you started. Alright. If you get that, you want to do the dialog thing, say no. So, enable. We'll just change the host name. R1. Just, oops. Conft host name. R1. And hopefully you guys can see this, but you know, just to be on the safe side, I'm going to do a magnifier. Alright. That should be better now. Alright, so interface G0/0/1.100, right? Am I correct here? Yep. So .100, enter. First thing when you do a sub interface, right? Sub interfaces means that we're doing router on a stick, or some inter-VLAN routing is what we call it as well. You have to do the command encapsulation. Encapsulation, DOT1, the letter Q. And then after that is the number of the VLAN that you're going to be encapsulating. What that means is that when you're passing along VLAN information, traffic from VLANs, they get tagged with a VLAN number that's assigned by the switch, right? Well, in order for that to be distributed across to other VLANs or communication to continue, you have to also do that at the router level. So in this case, it's a VLAN 100, right? Because we named or we called the sub interface by that VLAN number. So we'll put 100 after that, right? IP address. Oops, no space there. IP address 192.168.1.1. 255.255.255.192 if I'm not mistaken. You guys should never go by memory. I'm just telling you right now. But I'm not you guys. Psych. You can always make a mistake. So just make sure, trust yourself, but verify what you're supposed to do. Okay? So 192.168 that. Enter. We're done with that one. So exit and interface G0/0/1, or for you G01.200. All right. Same thing. You can up arrow to bring back some of your old ones and just encapsulation.1Q 200 to say everything going through here will be encapsulated with a 200 tag. And then IP address 192.168.1. What is it? .65 with a 224.65. 255.255.255.224, not 240. Almost messed it up. See, memory. I'm old. Fails me. I got that boomer memory. All right. Another thing we have to do is create that 1000, and with that 1000 is a little special there. So exit out of this one. Interface G0/0/0 I'm sorry, .1000, right? Encapsulation .1Q 1000. But there's something we have to append at the end of that. Is call it native. Right, and I see how I did a question mark in case I didn't remember it. All right, so what we're saying is that this is the native VLAN. All right, any VLAN, so any traffic that is not tagged at the switch level gets automatically put into the native VLAN. And so what the native VLAN allows is that traffic to go travel across the network. All right, so let me zoom out here really quick. Boop. Lord have mercy, what did I just do? No. I don't even know what those things are. I'm not going to worry about those. All right. So that is step 4. Configure inter-VLAN routing. Verify the sub interfaces are operational. So what does that mean? Well, it means that we have to go exit interface G. You have to always go to the main interface and give it a no shutdown. All right, that will bring up all the interfaces. You'll see that now when I move this, it's starting to come up as green. All right, so now I have those active interfaces. Now my next step is, yikes, I lost it. Step 5, configure G01 on R2, then G00, and static routing for each router. So it says configure G01 on R2 with the first IP address on subnet C that you calculated. Configure interface G00 for each router based on the IP addressing table above. Configure the default route on each of the router on each router pointed to the IP address of G00 on the other router, and I'll explain what that means. So let's close this for now. Let's open up R2. And in R2, it's going to tell us that. We tell it, no, I don't want to do that. All right, so let's go up, come on. just scroll up then if you don't want to go up. All right. So enter, enable. I wonder if I can do host name from here. Nope, I can't because it has to be in conft. Host name R2. All right. So from there, I need to go to interface G0/0/0. We'll just do that one first. I'm just going from the top to the bottom one. It doesn't matter what order you go to. All right, IP address 10.0.0.2 255.255.255.252 because it's a /30 network. No shutdown. We are done with that interface. Let me zoom in for you guys. That's what that looks like right there. Okay. That's all you have to do for that interface, G00. Next one, we're just going to go to G01, and I know that I wrote it up here, but it belongs on this one. 192.168.1.97 is the address. And my subnet mask ends in A240. Let's make sure I remember that. Interface G0/0/1. 192.168.1.97. Did I remember that correctly? Yes, I did. All right. 255.255.255.240 is my subnet mask on that one. It helps if I put an IP address in front of that. IP address. All right. No shutdown. That is now set up. All right. On R2, we're not doing any inter-VLAN routing, so we don't care how that is set up. Let me see if I can, my slow computer can keep up with this. All right, so I've done that. I just did that one. So configure G01 on R2, the first IP address. Did that one already. On G00, for each router based on the above IP address, so I'm going to have to go to R1 and configure it. It says configure default route on each router pointing to the IP address of the other router. So we'll do that right now on R2. So I know that my G00 on R2 is 10.0.0.2. That means that the other one's going to be 10.0.0.1. How do I know that? Because it's a /30. If it's a /30, that means that this subnet starts at 10.0.0.0. 10.0.0.0.0 /30. That's the subnet address. That means that the first usable is 10.0.0.1. The second address and the only other address on that subnet is 10.0.0.2. And 10.0.0.3 is my broadcast address for this small little subnet. This 255.255.252 or a /30 is great for router links because router links are only 2 addresses, so you use everything up. Anyways, let's go here. Exit out of that interface, and we're going to do a default static route, IP route 0.0.0.0 0.0.0.0. Those quad zeros mean that I don't care what the destination address is. If I wanted to specify a network, I could say, hey, this route, there's a route to this network at this subnet mask through this IP address. Right? But what I'm saying here is, hey, I don't care what IP address is going out. The way out is towards here. This is the way. Anyways, so that's what that is. It's a default static route. We're specifying it with an IP address. All right. So that's what you're gonna do on R2. On R1 is gonna look just like that, except that this is gonna be a 10.0.0.2. So I'm gonna go ahead and go and configure. Let's close this for now. Let's go to R1, and we're gonna interface G0/0/0 IP address 10.0.0.1 255.255.255.252. Enter. No shutdown. Right? Hey, my link just went green right there. Perfect. Exit. Also, I need to do IP route 10.0.0. I'm sorry. quad zeros, 0.0.0.0 space 0.0.0.0. That just means I don't care what address is flowing across. This doesn't matter. I'm not really caring about the address. I'm just saying that there's a way out of this network towards this if you just send it off to this IP address. A default route is always, we call it a gateway of last resort. It is usually placed on routers that are on borders of networks to say, hey, this is the way out of the entire network. If a packet needs to get out of the network and route out to the internet, maybe this would be what we want to use. All right. So just to let you guys know, inquiring minds out there. All right. So where were we at? All right, so I did that. So I did configure that, configure the interface, configure default route for each one, verify static routing is working by pinging R2's G01 address from R1. So they want us to ping R2's G01, which is from R1. It's 192.168, I believe is .197, right? So we can try that. Exit, ping 192.168.1.97 if I'm not mistaken. Uh-oh. Hey, look, we got some success there. The exclamation marks mean success. Do it again, and I get 5 successes. So the static routing works. I can leave my network for now. Right? And if I decided to ping the reverse way, it should work as well, but we're just going to leave it at that. All right. Save the running configs. Again, if you do that, make sure you erase your startup configs. All right. It wants you to do the basic settings for each switch. So if you did the ones for the routers, right, it's pretty much the same ones for the switch, right? Device name, disable DNS lookup, privilege exec mode password. Cisco and class, right? The VTY lines, encrypt plain text passwords, etc., etc. Create a banner, running config, clock on the device. You can do all that. I am not going to show you how to do it. It's going to make this video way too long already, longer than it already is. All right, so on S1 we need to create VLAN. So S2, only basic settings. Make sure you read that. Some of you might have already done some beyond settings and not said, hey, note, S2 is only configured with basic settings. Perfect. All right, so S2, once you do the basic settings on S2, that's all you got to do. S1, though, on the other hand, we need to create the VLAN. So we know that there are about 4 VLANs, if I'm not mistaken. VLAN 100, 200, 999, and 1000. So let's do that. VLAN 100. Oh, I have to be in the right mode. Enable conft VLAN 100, right? Name. Now, I don't know the names, and I'm not going to guess it. Come on. This is really messing me up with the zoom. All right. There we are. All right. So if I see here, right, I see that VLAN 100 is clients. So we're going to put clients. Name, clients, exit, VLAN 200, name, and that is management. Right? Exit, VLAN 999, name, parking lot, all together. Exit, VLAN 1000, not 1900, 1000, name, native, enter. All right. So we have our, it's parking lot with an underscore. It doesn't matter. Whatever. Not a big deal. All right. So let's, no, I don't want to close that. But I do want to get rid of this. Thank you, Doc Hub, for being so kind and generous to me. Let's zoom out really quick. So when we've done our VLANs, let's see what else they want us to do. Each switch. VLANs. Alright, configure and activate the management interface on S1, which is VLAN 200, using the second IP address from the subnet calculated earlier. Additionally, set the default gateway on S1. Configure and activate the management interface on S2, VLAN 1, using the second IP address from the subnet calculated earlier. Additionally, set the default gateway on S2. Assign all unused ports on S1 to the parking lot VLAN. Configure them for static access mode and deactivate them. On S2, deactivate all unused ports. Alright, interface range is helpful, and I will show you what that means. So the first one, S1, we need to configure the management one. So it says VLAN 200 on S1 is in the 200 management. Now, when we said right here, right, we said that the record the second IP address in the address table for S1. I'm still kind of worried about that one. You know, it's supposed to be in the 200 VLAN, but we're gonna leave it at .2. I'm gonna leave it like that and see how that works out. Exit IP address. I'm sorry. Interface VLAN 200. So that's how we create a VLAN interface. IP address. So 192.168.1.2 with a subnet mask of 255.255.255. Is it 224? I don't think so. It's probably 192, right? 192. Exit. The IP default gateway command is how you set. That's done in global config mode, not in interface config mode. And that is 192.168.1.1. That's the default gateway for this switch. Okay. So moving on. Let's see. What else do they want me to do here? On S2, do it the same thing that I just did here. Stop asking. Oh, did I just delete something? Probably did. It doesn't matter. Probably was wrong anyways, right? Conf T. Nope. Enable conf T. Alright, so let's S2 VLAN 1. I believe I had that one written down correctly. So come on. 192.168.1.98. Yeah, 192. I'm sorry. Interface VLAN 1. That one's already created. IP address 192.168.1.98. 255.255.255.240. Exit out of that. Actually, let's go to no shutdown just in case. Good that I did that. VLAN 1 is usually put in a down state, so you have to do is bring it up. When you create VLANs there and go into the interface VLAN mode, it usually brings them automatically into an up state. So you don't have to worry about the no shutdown command. The first message you get is it going into an up state. So IP default gateway 192.168.1.97. That's my default gateway. Whew. So far, so good. We haven't even got to the good stuff. But we're almost there. Almost there. Alright, so I'm going to do S1. And then what I demonstrate on S1 is similar to what's going to happen on S2 as well. Alright, so it says assign them to the appropriate VLANs on S1. This is a more important one because you have to assign it to the appropriate VLANs. This is going to tell you which one's going to go to what VLANs, right? S1 is already on VLAN 200, so we don't care about that. But we have F06, so exit. Let's see, interface FO/6. Enter. No, because I'm not in the right command mode. Conf T. Interface FO/6. Right. We need to do switch port mode access. Switch port access VLAN. What is it? 100. And that's all we need to do. It's in accessing, so that means that any traffic that comes in now is going to be tagged with a 100 VLAN number, VLAN ID number of 100. So that's important to do if you're tagging traffic, which is what we're doing. Another thing that they tell us later on to do, and which I'm going to do now, is I'm going to tag this as a trunk port. So that is port, I don't remember off the top of my head, 5. So exit out of this, interface F0/5. And we're going to do is switch port mode trunk. It has to be a trunk because we're doing inter VLAN, right? Switch port mode trunk, and then we're going to do switch port trunk native VLAN. Is it VLAN? Yeah, VLAN 1000, not 10,000. Switch port trunk allowed VLAN is 100, 200, 999. No, I think it's just 1000. 1000. Do we need to allow 999? No, I don't think so. 1, 2, and 1000 should be a-okay. Those are the ones that are dropping off traffic anyways. 999 is what we usually call a dumping ground VLAN. We're calling it a dumping ground VLAN because everything that's going to be put in there is going to be in a down state anyways. You're not allowed to communicate. But let me see if I'm correct with that. It says, yeah, 100, 200, and 1000 right here in the trunk. All right, I moved ahead. I kind of jumped ahead right here. I was right there. Assign VLANs to the correct interfaces. So F05. Why is interface 5 listed as VLAN 1? Because 5 was not, to answer that question, 5 was not assigned to a VLAN. We only assigned port F6 or F6, right? F5 was not assigned anything. So by default, all interfaces are put into VLAN 1. That's why it's listed under VLAN 1. We never assigned anything until now when we told it it's a trunk. Okay? So, moving on to that. Let's see. What else we got to go from here? Let's do the range thing. Alright, so on our little table here, as my computer is like churning to catch up with how I'm scrolling, right? These are all supposed to be in the parking lot on S1. So what we can do is, and let me zoom in here, F1 through 4, 7 through 24. All right, so interface range F0/1 dash 24, comma, I believe, F0 slash not 1 through 24. I'm totally mistaken here. 1 through 5. No, 1 through 4. Wow, that is horrible. 1 through 4, comma. Then 5 and 6 are being used. So then we have to do comma F0/7 dash 24. Excuse me. 7 to 24. And then G01 and 2. Comma G0/1 dash 2. All right, it worked. So you can do multiple ranges at once. And what are we going to do? Switch port mode access. Switch port access VLAN 999 shutdown. So this allows me to configure all of these ports all at once. And I'm going to get a lot of messages here. I say, hey, all these ports are just put into a down state. So I'm just circumventing. If anyone were to plug into the switch, they wouldn't be able to plug into anything but port 5 or 6 because I've shut down everything else. And then on top of that, I put them to a dumping ground VLAN, and they would not be able to communicate across my network anyways because they're on the wrong VLAN. They're on a VLAN that's not being allowed to go across a trunk. All right, so let me zoom out there. Going back over here. Let's see. So I did the 8021 trunk, right? That's port 5. Put in switch port mode trunk. Switch port trunk native VLAN 1000. And then switch port trunk allowed VLANs 100, 200, and 1000. All right. Then it wants you to verify trunking and all that. It says at this point, what IP address would the PCs have if they were connected to the network using DHCP? At this point, that depends. Since we don't have a pool set up, it would be .3 because on this side, because we don't have anything. So it would just be the next available address, which if we've used .1 for R1, .2 for S1's VLAN 200, and .3 would be the next one that's available. But we're going to change all that right now. We're going to configure 2 DHCP servers on R1. So on R1, we're going to have 2. So you will configure 2 DHCP servers, right? Given the following information below, exclude the first 5 usable addresses from each pool. It says create DHCP pool. Use a unique name for each one. Specify the network that this DHCP server is supporting. Right? Configure the domain name as CCNA Labs. Configure the appropriate default gateway. The lease time is 2 days, 12 hours, and 30 minutes. Next, configure a second DHCP pool using the name R2 Client LAN. So, so let's start with this one. All right, so we're in conf T, so we're going to IP DHCP, right? Pool. All right, so what are we going to call the pool? Well, the one is for the client, so I'm not sure what the other one is going to be for. That R2, so we're just going to call it R1 underscore client underscore LAN. Because if we already have one that's going to be called R2 client, might as well just call it R1. This is going to be a pool for all R1, right? And that's it. That's how we call it, right? So what's our next step, right? We have to tell it what is going to be what information is going to be given out. And so if you hit the question mark, you can see default router, DNS servers, domain names, etc., etc., etc. All right. So the first thing we want to do is tell it the network. Network. Oops, not network. Network. And let's see. Exclude the first one. So R1. Come on, scroll. R1. I think we're gonna exclude the first one, 192.168.1.1. It has a toughie, right? This is R1's clients, 200 is management, so we're just gonna clear that one. All right. So it's just gonna be R1's clients. So network 192.168.1.0. We're gonna also tell it the subnet mask, right? 255.255.255.192, right? That tells everyone that, hey, it's gonna be these ones. And you know what? I forgot a crucial step before I started that. So let me exit out of here. Exit. And let me do a let me go back in here and let me get rid of this, because what I should have done is done a an excluded list. IP, I think it's DHCP excluded addresses. right? So what I want to do is I want to exclude the addresses first, and it tells me the first 5 addresses. So we're going to exclude number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So if I did a question mark right there, it's going to say the low IP address, which is 192.168.1.1. And if I do another question mark and say, what's the high address? In other words, what's the end address? 192.168.1.5. All right, question mark. That's it. So now I can do IP DHCP pool R1 underscore client underscore LAN. All right, and then we're going to call it network 192.168.1.0 255. Remember, it's the network address 255.255.255.192, not 2 something. Enter. Default router. The default router command is going to tell everyone, hey, the default or the gateway default gateway is this address 192.168.1.1. All right. The other thing we need to tell it, let me see, is the domain name. Domain name, and I believe it's CCNA-lab.com, if I'm not mistaken. But again, trust but verify if this thing will go fast. All right, where are you at? Where are you at? Ah, there we are. Yep, CCNA-lab.com. All right, so that's all we need to do. So I gave it a unique name, R1. Specify the network. We did that. It's 192.168.1.0 with a /26. Configure the domain naming, right? The default gateway, we already told it what it is, 192.168.1.1. The lease time. I'm not going to be able to do it here again because this is packet tracer, so it would be lease, right? And it's a not recognized command. But on your guys, as the 2901s, it will be recognized. So it's lease. It goes by days, hours, and then minutes. So it's 2 days, 12 hours, 30 minutes. That's all you got to put in there. So for me, it won't work. Even if I hit the question mark, I don't see anything for time lease options. Maybe if I did options, let's see, options. Nope, it's just a code thing, and that's beyond what we need to know here. All right, so that would be the command lease 2, 12, 30. Where'd it go? Yeah, I didn't write it down, but it's lease 2, 12, 30. 2 days, 12 hours, 30 minutes. All right, so next we're going to configure, let's exit out of here, and we need to configure a DHCP pool using the pool R2 client. So we need to do an excluded list. Now, R2 client, and some of you might have like, oh, well, I'm just going to do the next subnet. Well, that happened, and that caused, I think, a lot of problems there. All right, it's not very specific. I think they assume for you to know that, hey, it's going to be for R2 clients, which is all the R2 clients, then it has to be, it's going to be this subnet. All right, so the first 5, IP, DHCP, excluded addresses 192.168.1. And for R2 is going to be .96. I'm sorry, .97. That's the first excluded address, and then the 5. So 97, 98, 99, 100, 101, all the way to 192.168.1.101. Okay, that's our excluded addresses for those. And then we're going to do IP DHCP pool R2 underscore client. Oh, it froze on me. All right, client underscore LAN. All right, so IP DHCP R2 client LAN. Enter. Next, we're going to, what are we going to tell it? Well, we're going to get all the information that we need. The network is 192.168.1.96. That's the network address, 1.96. 255.255.255. What is my subnet mask? 240. Enter. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to give it the default router. Default router is 192.168.1.97. The domain name is going to be ccna-lab.com. Enter. All right. That should set up our 2 DHCP servers, one for each LAN. We go down here, create a LAN on S1. We already did all that. DHCP. It wants me to issue the command show DHCP server, DHCP pool to examine the pool details. So you guys can do that. I'll satisfy this by doing a little bit. Show IP DHCP pool to examine the pool. You get some information there, right? R2 client, R1 client, right? Total addresses 62, leased are none, excluded are 2, etc., because 2 are being excluded right now, but there's actually 5. Pending event none, 1 subnet is currently in the pool, yada yada yada. Let me expand this a little bit here. Nope, don't click on that. Yep, thanks DocHub. All right, how many leased, excluded, and then the last one is total. So I have 0 leased, 2 are excluded out of the 5, total 62. All right, so then I can do show IP DHCP bindings, show IP DHCP binding, right? There's no bindings because nothing has been bound yet, right? So let's see, attempt to acquire, and then statistics. So let's try to acquire an IP address. Now, on your PCs, it says go to G01, right? Let's see, what do I have it set up? I have it static. On Packet Tracer, it's easy, guys. You don't have to do much. You just have to put DHCP and hopefully it won't fail. DHCP request successful. I did request a successful DHCP, so I know that it works. But on your computers, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to do some stuff here. So if I were to go to my networking here, and I know I'm clicking off screen here, but if I go to, yeah, you guys know my Wi-Fi now. Yikes, that's not what I wanted to do anyways. Open network and internet settings. So I right click on my Wi-Fi icon, right? And most of you should be familiar with this, hopefully. Disable your Wi-Fi first of all. Then you're going to go to, ooh, I can't show you this. I'm sorry. I can't show you this because my laptop does not have an Ethernet. But you'd go to find the Ethernet and you change your Ethernet settings. Okay, guys? On this one, it's easy. The IP configuration is right there. Command prompt. Once you do that, you can do ipconfig/release. Right? I have released my IP address from DHCP, and then I can do the same command, but not release, it's renew. I give it some time, and I have renewed my DHCP address. So this device has a DHCP address. All right? It says configure and verify DHCP relay on R2. So everything's fine and dandy on R1 side, but on R2 side, if I were to try, at this point, I should not get a DHCP. It's going to say, sorry, failed. Give it some time. Give it some time. DHCP failed. A PIPA address is being used. Automatically assigned IP address. This, whenever you see a 169.254 address, you know that you're having some connectivity issues. You cannot find a DHCP server. It is a process that happens. That is automatically assigned by the rules. That is the way. All right, so to combat that, to change that issue, we need to configure what's called a IP helper address. So configure an IP address on G001 on R1. All right, so So it says that we have to go to R1 conf t IP, let me see, interface G0/0/1 IP helper address, right? And then what is my destination address? So it says that I have to configure that, specifying R1's, oh, my bad, I'm doing it on the wrong one. It says configure R2 as a DHCP relay agent. So I have to go to DHCP, right? I have to go to, I'm sorry, R2, not R1. Enable conf t. See, reading helps. Interface G0/0/1. And we are going to type in IP helper address. Now it says that I need to configure the IP address, so I have to specify R1's G00 IP address. So the helper address for G00 is 10.0.0.1. So IP helper address 10.0.0.1. Okay, save my configs, and it says attempt to acquire. All right, so we're going to attempt to acquire another IP address from here. So IP config, you can do this on Packet Trader. So IP config/renew. And please work. Hey, look at that. I have received IP address 192.168.1.102, 255.255.255, 240, 192.168.1.97 as my default gateway. All right. So, not a problem. We have set up DHCP. Now, if I go into and show back on R1, right, let's run some of these show commands again. Exit, and let's do a show IP DHCP pool, right? I can see that I have one leased here and one leased here. If I do show IP DHCP bindings, hey, look at that. 192.168.1 is bound, and this is the MAC address of that device, and 192.168.1.102, and that is the MAC address of that device. And those are how you that. So this is the end of the lab. To verify, what I want for you guys to do is I want you to show me this. The IP DHCP binding is probably the more crucial one out of all of them. And on top of that, I also want you to show me a ping from PCA to PCB. So, if I remember correctly, it was 102. Ping 192.168.1.102. Will it work? Did I get the IP address correctly? I'm going off of memory again. Ha, there it goes. So what happens if some of you wonder, like, why does it fail on the first one? Why does it time out? It's because the MAC tables still have not converged with each other. ARP has not gone through and send out all the information that it needs. Once this happens, I can run it one more time and I will get end-to-end connectivity. So I have pinged from PCA to PCB. Alright guys, I hope this video helps you guys. I know it's kind of rather lengthy, but hopefully this will help you guys understand it better. I know I walked through the entire thing for you, but I want you guys to get a better understanding of this stuff. Alright, well, I hope you guys have a good night.